Welcome back to another one. Today we're going to be going through a few different destinations to try out 14.2.2.5 in our hardware for Model Y. You can see it's not a Juniper model, so we do not have the front bumper cam, but we're going to see about hopefully a parallel parking space and then just general navigation things, as well as I'd like to talk about the recent trip I just got back from, where we drove about 500 miles and most on the interstate. So here we are. We're just going to go across the parking lot to this first destination. So I really just wanted to make sure that we set it up for the next few destinations after this. But we just got back from a trip in this car going 500 miles or so. And I have to say that my biggest complaint, especially on road trips now, is the speed control. So I know I've talked about it before, but unfortunately it is truly annoying that the speed control is so bad. So it will often be going 15 to 20 miles per hour over the speed limit in standard, and you have to bring it back down to sloth or something like that to get it to kind of snap out of it, and then you can put it back in standard and it'll go around 5 miles per hour over the speed limit again. And then maybe it'll go with the flow of traffic. Maybe they're going a little bit over. Most often this happens when it's like a 55 mile per hour speed limit or something like that. As we pull into this first parking spot, pretty good here. So we'll just continue. So those 55 mile per hour zones, and then going back up to, okay, I had to wait for this guy. This guy's just driving across all the parking spaces. Okay. Interesting choice. Those 55 mile per hour speed limits, where it's kind of goes down to 55 and it goes back up to 65 or 70, that really kind of messes with what FSD and the speed profiles are doing. So it will often kind of get stuck going the, say, like 75 miles per hour, and then the speed limit drops down to 60 or something like that, and it just continues to go 75 miles per hour and it just ignores it. It will show that it has, it's registering that it's 55 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour, whatever, as the speed limit, sees the signs usually, and or the map data would indicate it. So it does have that, but then it just ignores it. And I don't really understand why. The speed control has just been so bad, but I mean, I have to switch between everything from sloth to Mad Max to get it to go the speed that I want it to go. And sometimes even like in Mad Max, it won't even be going the speed limit. So I have to just go ahead and press the accelerator. So those sort of things are pretty annoying on a road trip. It does handle very well. Like it stays in the lane very well, and it navigates on the interstate pretty well as far as I can tell. I didn't have any problems with it taking the wrong exit or anything like that. However, I could go for it getting in the right lane or the correct lane earlier than it normally does. It definitely waits a little bit too long for my taste. I'd rather it be in the correct lane and just kind of chill out in that lane instead of going around people. And so often I have to put it in chill or sloth so I can get it to be in the right lane and not be getting around people when an exit's coming up, because even on standard, it's going to go around people. Even if you're only going, I don't know, 1 or 2 miles per hour faster than them, it will try to get around them right before it's going to need to exit. So those sort of things definitely need some improvement. But as far as the driving is concerned, it's always very safe. That's the one thing that's really good about 14 is I don't think I've had a safety disengagement on 14 maybe not at all. I don't know. So we've got on autopilot, we have for version 14.2, 3,258 miles I've driven since version 14.2, and 3,183 have been on FSD, so 98%. So definitely used FSD a lot and have not had to drive myself for much of anything except for the situations where the navigation is wrong or the parking is bad. And occasionally, if I have to disengage because it won't get the speed limit correct and I need to, just slow the car down. That has happened a couple times. All right, here we are doing the whole let's navigate behind target instead of park in front of target thing, which is really dumb. Let's see if it's going to try to park back here. But yeah, there is no situation where I would want the car to go behind shopping centers like this. This is a big Target. This is where some employee parking is. So there are some parking spaces back here, although it's already on the navigation found that it doesn't really know where to go at this point. Not allowed to park right here. Got a bunch of no parking anytime signs. But this is the kind of thing that, if I was actually going to Target, I would not have let it go behind the building. I would have disengaged right over there. So not a safety disengagement, but I mean, there's no reason to be back here. It looks like it's going to go kind of do what it's done before, where it'll go park on the side of the building. There are some parking spaces on the side of the building, still quite far from the entrance, and definitely not somewhere where I'd want to park my car, but got something on my windshield. I don't know what it is. Just gonna leave it, I guess. Anyway, so we'll see what it does here going around. I think it's probably just gonna park in these spaces. It's done this before. Kind of like there's like a loading zone or something, and it'll just park in a couple spaces around there, which, again, definitely not where I would park. But these are the kind of situations where I would just disengage. So that 98% is basically all of the driving outside of parking lots, and for certain navigation situations where it's just going the way that some way that I would not want it to go. So I'll just disengage for that. There's some debris over here. Yeah, it's just kind of, there's plenty of spaces here. Now, these spaces, if we park in one of these spaces, that actually wouldn't be horrible. Oh, I think maybe it's finding its way to the front of the building. Question is why it would first go behind the building and think that was a good idea. But now we're actually any of these spaces over here, aside from the handicap or the pickup parking, would be acceptable to park in. So we might actually, without any intervention or disengagement, be able to park in an appropriate space at Target. It's actually been a while since it's done a good parking job at Target, for that very reason of driving behind the Target for some reason. It's just a navigation thing. It really, it's not like it was a safety issue, but all right. So we ended up with a good parking job. We're going to go ahead and leave immediately. This lady behind, like next to us, she's probably like, well, what? I guess you didn't want me to park next to you, I guess. Truly, though, I really don't like parking right next to somebody who just pulled in, because they're probably, going to want to get out of their car, get the doors open and stuff. So, but that was a human driver that chose to do that. So, everybody's got their own personal preferences of what they want to do. She just wanted to be as close as she could be to the door, I guess, which I don't blame her. It is very windy and cold today. I think it's 41 degrees right now, but it's like super windy out. So maybe she just wants to be as close as she can get to the door, which is fine. It is sunny though, so that helps it not be so bad. Yeah, so I have enjoyed version 14. No safety issues really, or if there have been safety issues, it's been very few and far between. I can't remember the last safety disengagement that I actually needed to do, but the map data and the navigation data, as well as the inability to have good parking jobs and that speed control, those things really need to be fixed in order for it to be to the point where I would be comfortable with some level of unsupervised driving. So say like when you get on the interstate, you don't have to pay attention, as much or whatever. Like maybe it's longer that you don't have to pay attention because it's super safe on the interstate. But the problem is right now, if it's going 20 over, you're likely to get a speeding ticket. I mean, it's just going to happen eventually. Like you can't be driving that much over the speed limit all the time. And it does it a lot. It did it a lot. And it was, something that I had to interact with the whole time just to prevent going too fast when it was not appropriate. If you're just going with the flow of traffic, then that's fine. If everybody's going 25 over and you're going 20 over because you're trying to stay with the flow of traffic, then that's fine. But a lot of times FSD will just kind of get stuck going some certain speed and it'll just continue to go that speed even if there's no traffic around anymore. So far I haven't had any interaction with this drive. We're doing pretty good here. Of course, we're going to have this nice full stop here. A couple stop signs to irritate people behind us, which is fine. I found that in our neighborhood, especially, people just completely ignore stop signs a lot of times. They'll just drive through it, not even slow down sometimes. They just drive right on through the stop sign. So I'm starting to feel better about doing these full stops at stop signs. I'm actually starting to like it or coming around on it because people need to know that they need to stop at stop signs. I mean, rolling it at 1-2 miles per hour or whatever, where you don't come to a complete stop, but nobody's around and it's very easy to see, like right here. I mean, we definitely could have just come down to like 2 miles per hour and then gone. That car, that's what they did. They were still rolling. They never stopped. But they came to a comfortable speed where they were just very slowly rolling. I think that would be fine. But yeah, when you have all these people just driving straight through stop signs, it almost feels like it's good to do the full stop and show people like this is how you're actually supposed to stop at these stop signs. So I guess I'm coming around on the whole NHTSA stop thing. The only time it's really an issue is when you are at like a four-way stop or something, or two people come to the intersection around the same time. It will confuse people. I mean, usually they'll be like, oh, well, you were here first, so you should go. But then because it comes to such a long, complete stop, they'll be confused about, oh, I guess they want me to go first, and then sometimes it gets a little bit confusing about who's supposed to go, because FSD comes to such an unnatural complete stop in those situations. But beyond that, like in these situations, like there's nobody around, it's okay. No confusion. All right, so this next stop here is actually a unpaved parking lot. So again, we're not supposed to have the parking improvements in 14.2.2.5. I don't know what they're doing with these small point releases. I haven't seen really any differences in any of them. So there must be some small edge cases somewhere that they're playing around with. I'm not sure. I definitely don't see any improvements in the navigation or the map data or the speed profiles. Speed profiles have been just all over the board. And of course, the parking's not supposed to be updated yet. So that is also true. The parking is not getting any better. Although I did want to try a parallel parking spot because I haven't done that on 14.2.2.5 and thought it was probably worth giving it a shot. Ugh. So, yep, gravel parking lot. Not the best, but that's okay. Looks like we're going to park here. That's actually a pretty good parking job, especially considering there's no lines painted or anything. Gravel lot. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. Now, we will... Okay, it says driveway. I don't know why it says driveway. So the next destination is a charger. So I don't want to do driveway. I want to do street parking. Yes. All right. So we'll do street parking for this next destination. It is a charger, and hopefully, actually, yeah, no, I think it is. It's a charger, right? Let me see that on the map again. What does it say? Yeah, this is the charger. So, yeah, it shouldn't, there's no driveway. So it definitely shouldn't be trying to park in a driveway. I'm not sure why that was selected. And it really should say charger, honestly. Like if you're navigating to a charger, it obviously should know that it's trying to park at a charger. In this case, it is on the street. So it's, there's like 3 parallel parking spots alongside a couple chargers. So we'll see if it can actually parallel park. I mean, it may not be available, and if not, then we'll try to see if we can park somewhere nearby, or maybe it will. Hopefully. Parallel parking. But parallel parking has been rough on previous versions, so worth checking out if they've done anything with that. I've gotten it stuck on some parking situations, so it'll just kind of freeze and never park. In fact, actually last night that occurred, it got almost all the way into a parking spot. It could have been a little bit closer to backing up, but instead of putting it in park, it just froze. And it just decided it was just going to sit there and wait. So all I did is just put it in park, and that was it. Like, I don't really know what causes it to freeze sometimes, but that's definitely happened to me a few times where it would just freeze and just not even complete a parking job, which should be super easy to do. I was going to do a parking deck, but I'm actually running out of time. I actually am running an errand that I have to do. So I'm actually going to edit the trip, remove that parking deck, because it often takes a lot of time with the parking. Oh, it switched it to driveway again. Why did it do that? Street parking. Okay. That's very weird. It's very weird that it'll switch it. Now it looks like there is no. Oh wait, there is a spot. Okay, so all we need to do is we need to just. I mean, we got enough space we could actually just go in, nose in. That's what it's gonna do. Okay, so I don't think this really counts as a parallel parking job. So I had all the room in the world, and okay, we're correcting it. Okay. Now I don't think we followed the lines there. Could be wrong here, but yeah. So we should be up further a little bit in order to park here, because there should be a parking line around it. But we are nice and close to the curb, so overall a pretty good parking job. You can barely tell, but our back tire is actually on the line that separates the two spaces. So if we had just pulled forward another 2 feet or so, 3 feet maybe, it would have been a perfect parking job. But again, without a car in front of us, that's not necessarily a win there for the parallel parking. So still think they need to improve the parallel parking as far as it needs to be able to see what the spots are. I've had it in, I think it was on 14.2.2.4. It actually parked on a turn lane, in a turn lane, instead of parking, and it was actually on this street. So which direction are we going here? Okay, this works. Yeah, so it was on the street. It passed all of the parallel parking spots that were clearly available, and then it actually just parked in the turn lane after them. So that wasn't good. Couldn't park there. But it needs to recognize what's actually a parking spot and what is not. And it needs to see those lines. And on the parallel parking spots, especially, I don't think it recognizes anything. It doesn't recognize lines for those. And I think it's pretty much just based on whether it sees, a spot between two cars that it can park. It doesn't care if there's a no parking sign or anything like that. So, and that's all the parking quality stuff. So still, we're probably going to have no problem getting into this last destination here. Hopefully. But I'd still say my biggest complaint is that it doesn't have good speed control for road trips, because for road trips, that's when it is the best time to have good autopilot or FSD, is when you're going, hundreds of miles on a road trip. It's great for it to be going a proper speed and staying within the lane, and doing all that for you takes a lot of load off of the stress out of driving on those road trips, and it's a lot easier to just kind of relax and supervise the drive. So it actually adds a lot of pressure back to the drive if you're constantly having to, baby it as far as the speed. If it's going the wrong speed constantly, that's just adds a bunch of work and stress, because there's a few times where I was worried we were going to get pulled over because it just happened to be going like way too fast. Had a little hesitation back there. I don't know if they thought it got confused about that stuff that was right next to the edge of their little construction equipment. I think that's what it was hesitating about. And now the speed limit's 45, and we're going 32. Speed limit's 45, we're going 32. And I know we're turning here, so no big deal, but that person left their gas cap open. Oops. Anyway. All right. So as long as we stop here and park, okay. Now there's very hard to see lines here. Actually, I parked over here where the lines are a little bit easier to see. So good job. All right, that's it. That's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.